self-made man, independent woman, a loner, a self-starter. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Cliches that are sewn so deeply into our Western consciousness that we struggle to hear their inconsistencies, feel their dissonance, or see their absurdity. As we honor and exalt the self-made man, it doesn't take long during their speech to tear up, to thank his devoted partner, the team around him, and the speech usually crescendos with a, "Hi, Mom." There's a whole lot of people involved in that self-made man. The independent woman, usually not honored as much by our society. That's another sermon that needs to be given. Often she has a long list of heroes, other women of inspiration, mentors, and a support team, which helps to strengthen and embolden. The loner, that guy is only noteworthy in cinema. In real life, we look at him askew. My absolute favorite is pull yourself up by your bootstraps. The absurdity is lost as this phrase transformed itself. According to Rabbi Google, pull yourself up by your bootstraps has its origin in 19th century German folklore, highlighting the ludicrous and the far-fetched. Its first allusion came in the classic tale of the adventures of Baron von Munchausen, where the Baron extracted himself and his horse from a swamp, levitating above the water by lifting himself up by his own hair. It's an expression of impossibility found in a children's tale, which has made its way into the American psyche. No doubt confused and mingled with our Western cowboy narrative that we hold so dear. Long, solitary journeys across the American frontier, quiet nights sleeping under a 10-gallon hat in a starlit sky, and never taking off them trusted boots. All this is nice. These expressions help to motivate, to empower, to strengthen, but they're not real. Real strength doesn't come solely from within. It comes from knowing that you are not alone, that there are people who rely on you. There are people who depend on you, people that believe in you. And it's knowing that there is a world of vast possibilities. For some of us, that array of possibilities is available through the luck of the draw. But because it is random, it's available to all of us. For others, the possibilities stem from an all-loving God who created the stage upon which we dance and act out the masterpiece which is existence. On this sacred occasion, I would like to share with you an idea. A sacred community's reason for being, a synagogue community like ours, like yours. I mean not to take away any greatness you ascribe to yourself, only to say that your greatness is not yours alone. It is our greatness. Likewise, your failure is our failure. Your joy is our joy. Your fear is our fear. Your sorrow is our sorrow. And your triumph is our triumph. This is what it means to be a Jew. And this is why we gather together for these sacred, high, holy days. In the beginning, God created the first human being twice. Through a careful read of the first and second chapters of the book of Genesis, commentators have explored the similarities and contradictions of these two stories, telling the creation of the first human being. Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik, the head of the rabbinical school at Yeshiva University for a large part of the 20th century, describes the first two tellings of the created man, Adam the first and Adam the second, and uses them as the topological categories of human existence. The inner struggle between what Soloveitchik considers the two competing natures of the human being, the majestic, dignified human being in contrast with the covenantal human being. The majestic, dignified human seeks to conquer nature, to rise to the top of creation, to cultivate, to subdue it, to rise to a place of dignity and honor among the created beings. For Soloveitchik, Adam the first, her likeness to God is expressed in her striving and ability to become a creator, to stand alone above all being and all creation. She lives in solitary existence. For Adam the first, being alone is not a condition, it is a goal. In contrast, the covenantal human seeks relationship, to commune and to see the world as a wondrous, magical place, looking for God's image not as an example to exceed above the rest of creation, but as something that lives within everything. For Adam the second, the solitary existence of a human being isn't a goal, but a condition, a status Soloveitchik calls the lonely man of faith. The challenge of existence is not in choosing one or the other because we can't. We are both. We exist with inner conflict, pulled in both directions. Since we are both, we can't ignore one or the other. We must manage our spiritual journey by balancing between both paths. Our sacred saga also shares this conflict. Judaism has many stories, but our central story, the tale which brings us together as a people, is the Exodus from Egypt. We retell the Exodus in our prayers. Each and every day, we evoke it in our sanctifying the Sabbath day, Friday evenings and Saturday mornings. We study and reenact it during our most beloved holiday, Passover. The Exodus from Egypt is our redemption story. It is our fight song. It is our freedom march. Within this classic story, we learn the value of the collective. Our protagonist, Moses, is the archetype for the modern Jew. He was born a Hebrew, raised an Egyptian, married into a Midianite family, and works in his adopted family's business. And in the midst of his calm and comfortable life, a quiet, solitary existence as a Midianite shepherd, wouldn't you know it? God shows up and sends him back to his people, back to Egypt, and back to redeem the very life he escaped and transcended. We know the story of the plagues and the hardball negotiation tactics that Moses brings to Pharaoh. Eventually, the moment arrives where the people walk through the sea and they are redeemed. The message to us is clear. As Jews, we cannot escape our calling, and redemption is a communal experience. As Dr. Stephen Kepnes draws out in his book titled The Future of Jewish Theology, Judaism does not believe in individual redemption. Rather, we believe in a collective redemption. We must drag our fellow Jews across the finish line with us. The world to come includes all of us, or none of us. The journey of Moses and the Jewish people continued for another 40 years, and eventually the people entered into the promised land. Moses could have turned away from that burning bush. He could have ignored the call and continued his quiet life as a shepherd. But instead, he surrounded himself with his people, and they walked together through the desert and into the minds, hearts, and imagination of generations to come. Synagogue life has been tough. We Jews are tough. Whereas once upon a time, being a Jew meant being restricted from the greater community, synagogues played an important role in creating community and managing a hostile world. It was our own kind of herd immunity. As we have become mainstream, accepted throughout society, and offered unfettered access to anything and everything, synagogues have struggled to remain relevant. What purpose do we serve? I don't need to be a member of another place. I have so many memberships I could barely keep track. On top of it, what exactly do I get from my membership at a synagogue? Can you tell me that? At least other places I get a discount. Here I seem to be charged more. And furthermore, I don't need this place. I can find serenity anywhere. Hiking, the ocean, even Piedmont Park will do. I put on my earbuds and I can listen to everything I agree with. Nobody is shouting at me, telling me I don't come here enough or that I need to be more active. What is the point of synagogue anyway? These are great questions, and my answer is complicated because it requires us to put aside everything we know about synagogue life. Not because you were wrong, but because that building, that structure, that construct is dead. And what we are trying to bring out of the rubble is a new synagogue life, one in which people are at the center of its existence. The AA Synagogue supports and inspires spiritual journeys, your journey. Now, of course, I wouldn't fault you for saying, that's okay, Rabbi, my journey is fine. I got it covered. Sure, I have no doubt. But remember the words of Rabbi Soloveitchik. There are two aspects to our spiritual self. Which one is thriving? And which one needs to be uplifted? This is a sacred mission of our synagogue community. If you live the life of Adam the first, majestic, dignified, a person focused on conquering and crushing life, then our community is here to inspire Adam the second, the covenanted, connected, able to find God infused and throughout all of creation. For the majestic person is sometimes has a hard time to see the world as filled with wonder and awe. It's difficult to see how life is all connected and how our destinies are shared. This drive for interconnectedness isn't the babbling of a hippie. Rather, it is the eventual realization of the midlife crisis, if not managed and cultivated. On the flip side, if you are highly connected, enwrapped in covenantal understanding of your place within the grand experience of creation, you are leaning into your Adam the second. But then you must also be pained by the brokenness of this world. Your connection with congregational life is for the collective creation of a world anew, to rise above and conquer our fears, our sadness, our sense of despair at the suffering world. Of course, this would be the place in my sermon to highlight the synagogue guidebook and all the things that we do here at Ahavath Achim. But that isn't the right step. Once again, it would be utilizing the old model of synagogue. The new model of synagogue is about you, and it begins with your journey. There is no way to pop in. The question that first needs to be asked, they're difficult ones. Who are you? What are you? Why are you? And we at the synagogue community must honor each and every journey, regardless of how different or off the beaten path they might seem. Our modern existence allows us to run away from it all. Our spiritual saga teaches us that we can't get to the promised land alone. You belong to a family that cares deeply about your journey. We need you to take your place among the people of Israel, to lead, to support, to inspire, to uphold, and to sanctify. You belong to Ahavath Achim Synagogue, and Ahavath Achim Synagogue belongs to you. Let's help raise each other. Gamar Chatima Tova. May we be inscribed in the book of life together.